Hi, I'm Conrad with ProVia. Today we want to take a look at our FusionFrame and just a few tips that are going to help you during the install of this frame. The covers what you see here are covers that you can pull off that will help you in installation. And the way you will do that is you grab the tab and pull the cover off, set it aside. And it's important that you just take care in removing those so that you don't take a chance of cracking or breaking, although they are very durable. And the last step we do is removing the brick mold, and this can be done either by starting at the top and pulling out away, or the same can be done at the bottom. At this time, we have the door unit set in the opening, and we are ready to go ahead and install some screws to hold that jamb securely. The nice thing about this particular jamb is it comes prepped with the screw holes already. You got one at the top on each side, and in the middle, and at the bottom on each side. And the other thing it is included is a small bubble level that helps to keep that jamb straight so that you can get that door on plane. Now, ultimately, you're going to want to use the door slab to make sure that that door is falling into the pocket correctly. You're going to use about a 2.5 inch to 3 inch screw, and you're going to install it in that top hole, and that'll help you to keep that door secure while you're getting everything else set. Install one on that side, and then normally I would go to the hole in the opposite side and install that one, and then just proceed down the jamb, and all the time checking the plane of the door as it falls into that pocket. Keep an eye on that because it's critical to have that so that later when you're trying to adjust your margins between the edge of the door and the frame, you don't have to be as concerned about the plane anymore. You have your top screws installed in each frame and the bottom. We're going to leave the center ones for right now, and what I'd like you to do at this time is install the shims by the screws immediately above or below. You're going to do it on the top one, and if you need to adjust the door in the opening to help get your margin and get everything square, you can always back this screw out a little bit or pull it a little tighter. And you'll do this at all 4 screw locations. And then after that, we will go ahead and install the screws in the center screw locations and shim them also. We have all the screws installed at the screw locations. The shims are all installed so that the jamb is nice and straight, everything's in as nice and true as we can get. And at this time, we will be wanting to install the jamb covers, which will give it a nice, clean look. The first thing you're going to want to do is just pull the tab that was on there that you were using earlier to remove it from the skin at the beginning. I thought it might be a good time to point out the rubber gasket that runs the entire length of this jamb cover. Okay? And what that does is it eliminates the need for caulking. After this is installed, you put your brick mold and the tongue goes into this groove. It eliminates the need for caulking the entire length of the brick mold and jamb joint, thus keeping it looking much nicer. When installing the jamb cover, be sure you have it oriented right. The bottom portion here is cut at an angle to match the slope of the sill. Using a rubber mallet, take and hook the outside edge over here, and then just begin working your way down the jamb, and then you'll do the same on the other side. The next step we want to do is install the brick mold on the unit. But before we do that, we want to make sure that the miters stay nice and tight. So what we're going to do is, using the pre-drilled hole, we're going to install a 2.5 inch screw through that miter and pull that miter nice and snug together. And it's important that that is nice and tight, because when we take this brick mold frame then and set it up on the unit and we install the brick mold cover, it'll ensure that that miter stays nice and tight and doesn't pull apart. Okay, at this time we've got the miter screwed together on the brick mold, and you'll take that and you will place that with the tongue of the brick mold aligned with the groove on the frame, and using the heel of your hand you can tap that into there. And the one thing I will mention at this point in time, because the jambs and the walls are not always perfectly right, if the jamb happens to be in a little bit on one side, the tongue on here will allow you a 1/4 inch of movement in and out. So just remember, it's important that the tongue is in there so that it makes contact with that gasket, but it should be no more, the outside of the jamb surface should be no more than a 1/4 inch to the inside of the sheeting on the outside of the home. Okay? So at this point in time, you're going to tap that in all the way around, make sure it's nice and snug, and then you'll be ready at that point in time to install screws to secure the brick mold to the home. The last step in the installation of this door is to install the brick mold cover. What we would like you to do to make sure that the miter stays nice and tight, we don't get any water dripping in there, coming in and leaking down through, is to take and place a bead of caulk from the inside corner in, up across the face, and across the top corner. Then take your first piece, get it started at the bottom, and proceed up through using a rubber mallet or the heel of your hand to install that. And again, the same on this side. You're going to have put the bead of caulk on there already to be sure that that stays sealed off. At this point in time, what you'll probably need to do is have a rag handy that you can wipe off any excess caulk that might have squeezed out of the joint to be sure that that stays nice and tight. And that should take care of the exterior. Now, after you've got this wiped off up here, one other place you're going to want to caulk is right down at the bottom. Start here at the back corner and seal this off right here. And using a matching color, black caulk in this case, would be a good color to use to seal that up. In the future, if there was something come up that a jamb cover got damaged or a brick mold cover, I would like to show you just a little trick that I use on occasion if I need to take that cover off. If you use a tool like this, it's a siding removal tool, and it's got the little hook on the end here. And because your tabs are now missing from the original install, if you take that tool, place it up in the top corner, you're going to push it into the weather stripping and then pull it out, and it'll grab that back edge. And if you just take your hand, pop that back end, and you can just pop this cover off and run it right down through. Just like that. And you can replace that if you need to reorder a part because it got scratched, something happened to it, you can reorder that. It will also work on your brick mold if you take that hook and line it up with the joint in the brick mold. Tap it in until it's hooked onto there, and then you're going to want to pull straight away and remove that cover. Other than the required shimming at the hinge locations and the strike and deadbolt, this concludes our video on the FusionFrame. Thank you for watching. For more information, visit ProVia.com.